lot of the times when we talk about technology that we will have in the future, we focus on the practical aspects of them. We imagine how high tech would make our lives better, how we could apply it to production chains and to cure diseases and whatnot. What we very rarely talk about is all the stupid stuff, just the dumb things that we will do with this fancy technology, not because we have to or because it is in any way a good idea, but just because we want to. When they invented the jet airplane, they didn't go, hey, maybe one day someone will use the exhaust trails that come out of these things to draw penises in the sky. When they made ball bearings, they didn't go ahead and say, oh, hopefully one day someone will take 3 of these and put them in like a plastic housing and have a thing in the middle that sort of turns and call them fidget spinners. And they built the first internet. Nobody went, ooh, I just really hope that people, billions of people, will one day use this new invention that we have made here to share with each other images of their cats. Yet here we are, the greatest human civilization has ever been, running uphill in the mountain of technology, every day a little faster, using the technologies that we gain for the improvement and the welfare of our species, and also just dumb ideas that we really want to do. If you look at science fiction media, be it, movies, series, or novels, you rarely see that kind of thing. I mean, yes, you will have occasionally some fringe example of an unorthodox use for a technology, but they're always clever and useful in some way. Nobody tries to build the biggest space fireworks the universe has ever seen just for giggles. Nobody dedicates their life to constructing a fully functional Batmobile. Nobody covers their body in piercings to the extent that they could be melted down for 6 figures in scrap metal. But in our world, all of these people exist. And they have always existed, and they will always exist because that's just who we are as a species. Genius and insanity are, after all, best mates. Especially in the realms of vanity and self-expression, people will go to great lengths to make something that really has no practical use, but it just is kinda cool. Forget even wedding dresses, right? You have millennia of tradition in developing the technology of creating fabrics and sewing them together, decades of advanced material science, and all of that, and you use the fruits of that genius of humanity to spend 60 hours producing a Naturo costume. And yes, you should do that because it's fun, it's beautiful, and it's a form of self-expression. And a lot of people, if they could, would wear their manga picture costumes all day. And then when a lot of people like that just sort of get together in the same place and say, fuck it, let's just do the thing we all want to do, that's called a subculture. Now imagine what'll happen with all that when confronted with the limitless technology of the future. Many cyberpunk franchises already go for cybernetic bling to an extent as a visual feature. You see this in the Deus Ex games with the street gangs that have these sort of cool arms, or the boss of the Deus Ex corporation that the main character works for, not the JC Denton, but the Adam Jensen one. He has like a cool arm that isn't like, ooh, I'm high-tech cybernetics, but no, it's just like, it's a bit Victorian, it has style, it's something that you would hold a cigar in. But consider genetic engineering and its uses for body modification. I mean, literally, it is the definition of body modification. You are modifying your body on a genetic level. And you could do this with no effect whatsoever on your offspring. As a matter of fact, you would probably have to get extra germline gene therapy for it to affect your germline, aka your seed or your eggs. And you can switch as often as you like, go into various different species that you've never been. Especially if you're biologically immortal, you can spend like a few decades transitioning from a polychromatic snake man to a yeti with wings. And if this technology becomes widespread, sure, most people are going to stick to the basics. They're going to get a better physique, they're gonna get a better brain, they're gonna get better senses. But much like the fringes of humanity pushes the boundaries today, the fringe of humanity in the future will push boundaries that we cannot even imagine. Let me tell you, if you've got hundreds of trillions of people living all over the solar system, you get a fringe that is about as thick as all of the humans who have ever lived up until this day. And this is why witches from The Witcher will definitely be a real thing in the future. And the genetic modifications you would require to become a witcher, which, you know, in the lore, they also are genetically modified people, would also be very popular with mainstream genetic modification, like the most obvious being, of course, you get the better physique that witches just have, but also for professional reasons, you might opt to get the cat eyes that allow you to see better in the dark. And you might say, come on, like fucking, it's The Witcher, it's something that we have today. We don't look at the art of 500 years ago unless it's like Shakespeare and try to emulate that in any way, shape, or form. Let me tell you this. It only takes one guy in Asperia Planum going, oh yeah mate, I have a strong Polish ancestry, I'm fascinated with the classical literature of my people, I'm gonna become Geralt of Rivia. It's not racist, by the way. People on Mars, they do actually talk like that. Maybe shouldn't have used the red planet as a prison colony. It's not even just the law of big numbers that necessitates this. Sapkowski's books in Poland have like Lord of the Rings status. They put Geralt on stamps. The Prime Minister or President of Poland, I'm not sure which, gave the second Witcher game to Obama on a state visit a few years ago. Hang on, why the fuck is there suddenly a forest outside of my window? Where are my trash cans? Who is that guy?
Are you that fucking stupid? Do you want Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Because that's how you get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you wanted to have turtle soup, there's a lot easier ways to do it than genetically modifying superheroes from monster fucking animal people.
Well, I mean, listen, you know, I'm primarily interested in how you manage to project yourself onto my window, but do go on.
Being a villain is not going to get any easier for me if people are out there modifying the genes of human beings to turn them into mutant monster fighter fuckers. It's not going to work for me as a villain. You people need to knock this off. I mean, sure, Street Sharks was cool and everybody loves Puss in Boots, but it's not a good game you want to play, because by the end of the day, you're going to end up with people like me that are the size of freaking dragons with all the strength and look of a bear, and all they're going to do is steal your picnic baskets.
Okay, yes, sure. All of that is valid, but here's my question. Can I maybe keep the forest outside my window? Is that at all possible?
And your yard sucks, bro.
Yeah, sure. No, just leave without providing so much as an explanation as to how you did this, what kind of magic or technology did you use, and the trash cans are back. Phenomenal. Let's see who that was. Huh. The Beardbarian. Just have to go to my computer real quick. Yep, the beautiful landscapes going on here. Hey, my guy, can I maybe have back the forest? Forest with the E. Pretty please. No, no, let's just say please. I don't want to seem too desperate. And then put an exclamation point. There we go. Go subscribe to the Beardbarian. He does make a great point though. Many people see today the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles maybe as like a cheap cultural good, but who knows what kind of status they will achieve tomorrow. And remember, it only requires a small group out of trillions to just want to do this for shits and giggles for them to develop their own gene therapies. I mean, I suppose the one where you can just survive on pizza alone might be very popular on the mainstream genetic modification market, so maybe that's the first one they develop, and then they finance the rest of their venture with that. And if there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you can bet your ass there's gonna be furries also. Furries have been around for a very long time. Just look at Fredrik Knudsen's video on the subject matter to see how long. I mean, technically the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are also sort of furries because they are animals, Do you call those scalies? Many furries today make elaborate costumes of their fursonae that they wear to conventions and shit. Considering just how many furries there are today, it is not at all unreasonable to assume that maybe a few centuries in the future, there will be like a small society of a couple 100 million people that are furries, genetically augmented furries that change themselves into their actual fursonae, living on some cluster of space stations. And you know what? Good for them! Though I can imagine these sometimes quite garish colors to become a bit of a problem, because I don't think there's much that can naturally produce those kinds of pigments and then put them in the fur. But you might just do that if, I mean, the people in the future are going to be a lot smarter, especially in this field, than I am spontaneously right now rambling in this video. But even if they're not, you could probably have some like coloring dye solution, cybernetic solution that just, you pick the color pattern one day, or you could just change it every day because maybe they're like glass tubes and they're actually synthetic, they're cybernetic, they're tall, tiny tubes of maybe plastic that look exactly like fur, and you can fill them up with various different fucking colors. And so you could just change your fur every day. They'll just be regular people with regular jobs, probably because of their cultural associations with this in the field of genetic engineering. You'll probably see them outside their home space station on business trips or vacations. I think in the future, seeing a blue dog man with yellow spots and eyes the size of grapefruits is probably gonna be a bit like you see a Japanese man on the train in Amsterdam. Hey, he looks like slightly different than most people here. Probably has a different culture also, unless of course he was born here, which is entirely possible, but even then maybe the cultural heritage from his parents has influenced him in a somewhat different way than most other people, but really at the end of the day, who gives a shit? But considering just the sheer number of humans that there will be at that point, and the degree to which we can alter ourselves at that point, you're probably going to run into some fairly weird things if you live in like a major center where there's traffic passing through on a semi-regular basis, because, I mean, it's already difficult to keep track of all the fringe societies that exist on planet Earth. And that's just with like 8 billion people. Because that's the thing, there doesn't even need to be aliens out there in space. In a couple centuries, we will be our own aliens. Just entirely different civilizations that run on entirely different things, looking entirely different from their distant human ancestors, or really not quite that distant. Maybe last generation, you were just a guy, now you're a kind of cockroach with octopus arms. And really, if we get uplifting going, they don't even have to have human ancestors. Maybe you'll have like dolphins who change themselves to look more humanoid so they can use the fingers to type on machines better. And those would ultimately be closer to the original humans than the strain of original human that genetically altered themselves to be just giant clitorises living in cybernetic pleasure pods. Because of course those are going to exist. So no matter if you fear it or if you look forward to it, the future is going to be a very interesting place. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon and following me on Twitter, maybe potentially purchasing some of my merchandise. Also, remember to subscribe to the Beardbarian if you haven't already. I will find out if you didn't do it. In that spirit, use some modern technology to do something stupid that you've always wanted to do. So long as it doesn't endanger like other people or the human species at large. This goes especially to you hobbyist AI researchers. Oh, I'm gonna build a paperclip machine. Oh. And see you around, cunts.